What's going on, everybody? Welcome into On3 Sports. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and today with me is a very special guest, Tim Tebow, the former Heisman Trophy winner, college football legend, Florida Gators legend. Tim, thanks for joining me today, man. And, college football's in full swing right now. We'll get into that a lot as we go out through this conversation right here. But I got to ask you first, why you're here today. I hear you have something going on with Allstate right now.
Yes, I'm so privileged and blessed to be able to talk about the Allstate AFCA Good Works Team, a team that I was fortunate to be a part of in 2009, and now I get to be an ambassador for them. And why I love this is because there are so many awards that go to college athletes and college football players for so many reasons, but this is the award that goes to them for who they are off of the field, and they're doing amazing things. And it's easy to talk about the touchdowns, the sacks, the celebrations, right? But this is the impact, and I'm so grateful that Allstate awards these young men for who they are and what they're doing. And I'm talking about it's so many amazing things, whether it's mission trips to the DR or Guatemala or Mexico, or it's Make-A-Wishes, or it's hospital visits, or it's working with special needs. And I love it too because it's also at the highest levels with, Georgia Clemson players, Will Shipley, Ladd McConkey, Makai Wingo, LSU, but then it's also, Ashland College and FCS schools and so many others. And, I just think it just shows that whether you're at the top program in the country or you're at a program that not as many people know about, we all have a chance to have impact if we care about the people around us, and we get to celebrate what they're doing, not just on the field, but off the field.
Yeah, there's no doubt we should definitely shine a light on their off-the-field works, as you just astutely pointed out right there. So let's transition into some college football. And, of course, Week 2 provided a lot over this past weekend. We'll start with Alabama and Texas. That seems to be the biggest storyline from this past weekend. Of course, you look at Alabama losing at home to Texas. Now everyone says the Longhorns might be a perennial college football playoff contender this season. It's the end of Nick Saban. There's a lot of panic on one side, a lot of celebration on the other side. Your biggest takeaways from this football game on Saturday night?
Well, I think my biggest takeaway is there's not that much different than what we thought going in, honestly, is that we believe Texas is back. Because it's not just because they beat Alabama. It's look at their roster. Look at what Sark has done. Look at the offense and defensive line. Look at their backers. Look at their backups, right? Their roster is deep. It's not just, and we've heard this over and over again for the last 10, 15 years, right? Texas is back. Texas is back. They weren't back. They had a couple great players and they had a couple of big games. Now I think you can make a legit argument of why they're back. It's not just Xavier Worthy, Quinn Ewers. It's because their defensive line, their offensive line, they went toe-to-toe with Alabama physicality, and I'd say that you could give them the edge in the physical matchup. Which, when's the last time you saw a team that at least match, if not beat, Alabama in the physical matchup? Maybe only Georgia could say that over the last few years. So that's a win for Texas. Look at their playmakers, right? Xavier Worthy is one of the biggest playmakers. Look at the change that Sark has had in Quinn Ewers, right? Quinn has always been a talented guy. But, man, one of the things that stands out to me is his confidence. Look at the way Sark called plays for him earlier in the game. Multiple fourth downs, was willing to go for it. The way he was able to stand in the pocket, deliver under pressure, and have beautiful deep throws down the field. But then also look at the way he was able to stand in there and take hits. And then on multiple second and third and longs, he was able to run and go put his head down and dive. That's a different Quinn Ewers. That's the one that's playing with confidence. That's one that's playing with the love for his team, and his team rallies around that. Look at the offensive line run back and pick him up after he's hit. That's something I always go back and watch for. And so I think because all of those reasons, not just one game, it's not just on Saturday afternoon. It's for all those reasons you can look back at Texas and say, hey, this is a team that's for real. That is a legit top 5 team that I think they can compete with anybody. And add on to that, I think they got one of the best play callers in the game. I think that's important to mention because Sark was dialing it up. He knows what he's doing. He did it for Alabama, and now he's doing it for Texas. And there's a lot of reason to celebrate, and I know they are if you're Texas fans. But I also think I want to mention this: like, Alabama's not that far off. Like, you go back and look at the film, and I just did yesterday, and look at the all 22 copy. 2 touchdowns called back. Multiple opportunities that were missed, multiple wheel routes that they had set up that they just missed by inches. And so I think if you're an Alabama fan, it's definitely disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. You still have a really good team that didn't play their best and can get a lot better, and that should be encouraging.
No doubt. Jalen Milroe obviously had his ups and downs in that one, but it seems like Texas is a legitimate football team here in 2023. So I want to stay in the SEC with your Florida Gators. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about whether Billy Napier can pull this off or not. A tough opening day loss to Utah, but they bounced back this past weekend. But this is the big one now. It's Tennessee week. It just seems like everyone's like, all right, we're going to chalk this one up for a win for Tennessee. That's the general consensus. That's what Vegas says as well. How does Florida go into this week knowing that their backs are up against the wall here and they are the de facto underdogs in this matchup against the Volunteers?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're in a place like that, it's not a bad thing to be an underdog, right? Because it can rally you together. And I think that Florida needs to rally, but I also think that they need to focus on execution. One of the things that I loved in the Utah game by Florida is I loved their fight, even when it didn't go well. Their guys continue to compete and fight. I didn't love the execution. I mean, obviously everybody talked about the 2 number 3s on the 4th down on the field. Like, yes, you can get that cleaned up, but just the false starts and the little things like that, I think you can get cleaned up. But one of the reasons for hope, I think, is you look at Graham Mertz, and there was a couple of plays, even his interception against Utah to Ricky Pearsall. That was a miscommunication that he put right on the dot. He thought Ricky was doing a zone turn, and Ricky did a man turn, and it's a little bit different, and it hit off him, and it's an interception. And so there's a few things that I think if get cleaned up, Florida could look a lot different. Sometimes perception can be a little bit harsher than reality. And I think if you're a Florida fan and you really sit back and look at that film, after the first few plays and it didn't go well, they really kind of regrouped and played a lot better throughout the game. But you're going to have to execute a lot better at a lot higher level to be able to beat Tennessee. But Tennessee also didn't execute super well last week. And so that's a team that is so talented, and I really like a lot of what they have to offer, except I do think they're trying to figure out a few things as well.
So when I actually want to double down on that, or at least ask you again about that, the perception versus the reality. Now, this could be the message, or maybe I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but essentially perception versus reality. You balance it out between between Tennessee and Florida. It seems like they both have a lot of expectations, but we're only through 2 games, right? So where does that fit in? Is the pressure warranted on both these teams right now?
Well, yeah, you play at 2 amazing schools. There's always pressure. Let's just be honest about that. Is it warranted? Probably not. But is it a reality that there is pressure? Yes, there is pressure. It's SEC, it's Tennessee, it's Florida. There is a lot of pressure on you, and I think it's important that how you handle that pressure. But I think for people to just think that it won't be competitive, I don't think that at all. I think Florida's better than the way that it showed up. Are they where they want to be? No, I don't think that either. But I do think that's sometimes, especially in college football, when it's a very emotional game, as fans and diehard fans like we all are, like I am, it's important to take a step back, go back, look at the all 22, and say, okay, what happens if you get a few of these cleaned up? What happens if you're able to execute at a different level? Like sometimes there's things that can be coached, and sometimes there's things that can't be coached. And when it's something that can't be coached, you better say, oh boy, like this is bad, because no matter what happens, you don't have a chance. But a lot of their issues can be coached. And I think that can be an encouraging thing if you're a Florida fan.
I'm going to use that to transition into someone else who's been really coaching really well so far this season. And that's probably the biggest story in college football. It's Deion Sanders in Colorado.
There you go.
I mean, you look at these first 2 games, upset of TCU. They knock off Nebraska at home in dominant fashion. He has taken the college football world by storm. We knew this coming in from Jackson State, that he was different, but now he's doing it on the field as a coach with his players, his sons back there as well. I mean, your first reaction to this 2-0 start here for Colorado in the Pac-12?
Well, I love it, but I also love it because he's doing it his way. And I love it because he's doing it with such passion and love and belief and buildup of young men. I think that's something that sometimes gets missed. Look at what he says to him. Look at the way he's able to believe in them, pour into them. I think if you were to talk to a lot of his players, they believe they can do more and accomplish more after they've been around him than before. That's a sign of a good coach. That's a sign of building confidence. That's a sign of encouragement, of real encouragement. And I love that. I love that that it talks about being ready for the moment. That he doesn't shy away from it, and I love that. And I think his players feed off of that. I think you will continue to see more players be intrigued by the way he's doing it, because I think there's a lot of players that want to have pressure on them, but they also want to be encouraged and inspired in the moment. And that's what Prime is doing. And look at the way they handle not just the first and second down. Look at the way his team plays on third, fourth down, red zone, second half. The moments when you could either rise to the occasion or shrink under pressure. And man, they rise to the occasion. I think that's a good sign of a team playing inspired and fearless.
Tim Tebow with me here on On3 Sports. Tim, a couple more for you before I let you go. Caleb Williams, got to ask you about him. As a former Heisman Trophy winner yourself, this guy's going for a second one, obviously, here in 2023. Could be the #1 overall pick in 2024. I mean, have we seen a guy play at this level in recent memory, or at least one that you can remember the way he's playing compared to last year? Now, it seems like this game is just too easy for him so far this year.
It's been pretty incredible. I think he deserves so much credit. I also think we got to give a lot of credit to his receivers and Lincoln. They're dialing it up right now, and they are on fire. But man, he does make it look easy sometimes. In a few of the throws and the plays, especially on the run, it's like it's not supposed to look that easy. Like nobody else in the game makes it look that easy, really. And I think it's important that we when we look back in the recent years, Joe's year was pretty incredible, and there's been some amazing years. But yeah, his dominance it's ridiculous. I can't wait till they, get into some of the conference play and get into some of the teams that are taking the next step, because man, it's going to be fun. All the quarterbacks in the Pac-12 this year. If you're ready to watch some good offense back and forth, that's going to be really exciting. I can't wait till he goes back to back with, against Shador. That's going to be really fun. There's a lot of teams that are taking the next step there in the Pac-12, so that's going to be fun for just fans of college football.
We're definitely looking forward to that one. So one more for you, Tim. And then this is pretty much what everyone was talking about over the summer going into the season, especially if you are a fan of the Florida Gators. I need your reaction on the Swamp Kings documentary. Obviously, you were heavily featured about your time in Florida under head coach Urban Meyer, among all your teammates as well. Great documentary, if I do say so myself. I actually enjoyed it as growing up as a young man. I was actually a fan of the Florida Gators and you growing up. So I liked it. What was that whole process like, and what'd you think of the finished product when it came out this summer?
Well, thank you for that. I actually haven't even seen the whole finished product yet. We've been on the road like crazy. I have got to see clips, and I know so many people have seen it and shared encouraging things. I think one of my favorite parts was just getting to reunite with so many players that we were just so close with. And, it's just, I think, there's a story about a lot of highs, of some lows, some great moments, some disappointing moments. But I think more than anything, a lot of people that came together for calls, and how, close so many of us still are, and how when we get together, because we're literally all over the world, when we get together, you can just pick right back up. And I think more than anything, it's that story of brotherhood.
Awesome. Love hearing that. Tim Tebow with me here on On3 Sports. Tim, before I let you go, just where everyone can find out more information about the Allstate Good Works Team and what you're doing with them this year.
Well, I think they can just be excited for the release of the team, and you can, check it out. We'll have it all over the place, but it's the Allstate AFCA Good Works Team, and it's just something that we're so excited about. And please go out and support all these guys, and just remember when you're watching them play that it's also young men that are making a difference in their community. They're more than just an athlete, and they're showing that every day.
Great stuff. Tim Tebow with me here on On3 Sports. I'm Nick Kosko saying so long. Tim, appreciate the time as always. Hope to talk to you down the line.
Thanks, Nick.